Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to our show, Miriam Talk Show and podcast with amazing guests. So today our guest name is Dr. Madeline. So we can do an interview with our new questions and her life journey. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Madeline. So hi, how are you?
Hi, Miriam. I'm so happy to be here and I'm great. Thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome and thank you so much for giving up precious time. And so, first of all, I request you please introduce yourself for our viewers and for me who watching you.
Miriam, I'm a spiritual coach, mentor, and healer. I've been in business for 35 years when I became a victim of organized crime, which changed my life. And from that, I had to heal myself and help myself to get better again. And that's how I became a healer and a teacher. So I help people building confidence, getting healthier. I help them with their mental wellness, and I do self development programs for people for mindset, emotional, and spiritual intelligence.
Okay, thank you so much for introducing yourself. So, my first question is Dr. Helene, you experienced a profound transformation after losing everything. Could you share what that turning point was like for you?
It was the worst time of my life. I lost everything. I had to close my business because my life was in danger and moved away from my house because my son and I were in danger. So I went from a director of a company to nothing and nobody, nowhere to go. And I went through a terrible, emotional, depressing time when I suffered with high levels of anxiety, severe depression, and basically nowhere to go, nobody to help me. On my own, single mother. It was the worst time of my life.
Okay. So from this, I learned that even in our most broken seasons, diving person can still rise from the ashes. So my next question is the I am possible movement has touched lives across the world from refugees camps to leaders battling depression. What does I am possible truly means to you and what's the core message do you hope every person carries from it?
It means everything to me. It saved my life. One night, I wanted to commit suicide, and I had this divine intervention, this voice coming through, saying to me, "No, don't do it like that. I will show you the way." And that night changed everything for me. For 2 years, I was guided through the same voice in me, how to heal myself and start again. And after 2 years, I got the message that this is the program that I need to teach. And it gave me the name I Am Possible, which is my book, I Am Possible. And since then, I have put it out there, and people found me to teach them that I am possible. It's got an energy of its own. I taught it to women in refugee camps, to students who battle to concentrate and procrastinate, to leaders who are overwhelmed with anxiety and depression. They want more meaning and purpose in life. And I've seen miracles. I worked with a client yesterday afternoon on the I Am Possible Again through self love, and I literally witnessed her changing in front of me. It has just got an amazing, amazing presence working with people, helping them to heal what's blocking them and becoming the I am possible.
Okay, so I learned that I am possible isn't just a phrase, it's a mindset shift. It reminds us that no matter how impossible life feels, fate can turn limitation into opportunity. So the next question is, you beautifully combine spiritual neuroscience and mindset renewal in your sessions. How do you bridge the gap between spiritual healing and scientific understanding when working with people from different backgrounds or beliefs?
I believe that we should not be separating ourselves from each other because of spirituality or religion or beliefs, because it's the same recipe God made all of us. It's just us choosing to believe differently. So, that number one is I accept everybody as my client. Doesn't matter what religion they are from. I've worked with Muslim people, I worked with all sorts. But I bridge the gap between spirituality and neuroscience. Spirituality is one thing. It's one thing to take the Bible, to read the Bible, or the Quran, or any book, and to just read it. But how do we apply it in our lives? To actually embody it and to become that we're reading, because it's not just a book to read, it's a book to imprint in your DNA, to become the person of tomorrow, to break the generational cycles and to become the future that's new. And we can't do it if we just read but we're not applying it. And I found the recipe of how to apply it and to become I am possible.
Okay, I learned that true healing honors both the mind and the spirit. When faith and science walked hand in hand,
Mm.
transformation becomes both divine and deeply practical. So you mentioned people from so many walks of life, survivors of trauma, students, leaders, and more. Is there a story or movement that deeply touched your heart or reflect your purpose in this journey?
I have many stories that I can share, and every time I start to think, is there value in what I'm doing? I see another breakthrough in my clients, and then I see a miracle happening like I had yesterday in front of me, and that just reaffirm that what I'm doing is touching lives, transforming lives, and lead people to the God particle inside of them. One of the stories that I quickly want to share is I had a director that saw me years ago for high levels of anxiety and nobody could help him. He went to doctors, psychiatrists, coaches, mentors. Nobody could help him. He was on very high doses of medicine, didn't work. And he was a director of a very dynamic, well known company in the world. Be it as it may, we started to work, and I go back to the root of the problem. If we cannot solve anything, if we cannot identify the root. So I get guided divinely to the roots in some beautiful way. And I just heard the voice say to me, ask him what happened between the age of 8 and 10. And I asked him, and he said, no, 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 I'm not going to talk about that. I don't think it's that. And I said, trust me, just answer my question. And he answered my question, and I found the root to start it in his year of 8 years old, when he experienced tremendous trauma in his life, tremendous. And from there on, he had a very difficult childhood. But the same patterns repeated himself with a problem with his father. And obviously, when that happens, the body starts to produce that anxiety because you are all tied up and scared and in fear, and you're trying your best to do better and it's not working. And that's when he started to suffer with anxiety. So he became a perfectionist because he wanted to prove himself. He wanted that you're doing so well, but he never got that from his father. And he became a perfectionist in his work. He did very well, but he expected his employees to be perfectionists. He was very hard on them without realizing that he was repeating the pattern onto his employees and putting the same stress on them, creating the havoc in them. And that's when he found me, and we worked through that. And through working and healing that whole situation, and him starting to realize that what he experienced as a child created his success that he's got today. But he doesn't need to repeat the pattern unto others and give them the same pain and trauma that he received. So he can let go of the perfectionist, accept people for who they are, show them how to be their greatness. He doesn't need to be in in high anxiety to be perfect because he's already achieved success, proven himself, earned respect. He can just now treat people respectfully and lead them to their greatness, and everything would be fine. So the next morning, after many sessions, he came back to me and he said, Maddie, I went to my father's grave and I forgive him. And to me, it's a story I will never forget because I didn't tell him to do that. You know, it wasn't even part of the conversation, but it shows you that my work is just opening up the wound and show you how to heal it and take the wisdom out of the pain and close the wound so that it can heal. Because you cannot walk with the pain for the rest of your life. That's when we repeat cycles. So I show you how to take that pain, turn it into wisdom. That's when the neuroscience comes in. Change the mindset. So I am not the victim anymore, I'm a victor. So I am not in pain anymore that I need to prove myself because I am resilient. I've learned skills, wisdom through this experience that I can now apply. And that immediately brings relief to people. They find themselves, they step into their greatness, they come back with results to me that is absolutely miracles. So that's one incident that I can speak of that was like aha moment for me.
Okay, so I learned that every soul carries a story worth listening to. When we serve others with compassion, we often find that their healing mirrors our own. So the next is many young people today struggle with anxiety and self-doubt and loss of direction. What advice would you give to them about finding peace and aligning their life with divine purpose?
Young people are under pressure at the moment, huge pressure, because they're living in a crazy world where the news is doom and gloom all the time. They're on their phones all the time. They're losing their sense of direction because they rely on this virtual world while living in the actual world. So they're in between, in the gap. So I would say to young people, you need to know yourself. If you do not know yourself, you will not have direction or purpose. Who are you? Why am I here? What's my purpose? That's the questions they need to answer for themselves. Who am I is the most important question we can ask at any time in our lives to ourselves. And once you know yourself and you know what your purpose is, and you've got that direction and drive to go after your dream, You know yourself, you're confident enough so that you can put up healthy boundaries. You know yourself, you're confident enough to chase your dream, and you can say, I'm not going to be on my phone for the next 2 hours. I'm going to work on my dream. I'm going to connect with the right people. I'm going to speak to the right people. I'm going to put inspired action into motion so that I can become more than what my family or anyone before me became. And that will help them to keep their focus, to calm their nervous system, not to feel depressed. Because remember, all these emotions that we are talking about that's negative, they are only an end result of what's going on inside of us. Depression cannot exist without feeling despair. Anxiety cannot exist without feeling fear. You fear the future. You fear your exam. You fear you might disappoint somebody. You fear to be yourself because you might not fit in. All of those emotions have a root that's leading to the emotion. The emotion cannot be on its own. So you have to ask yourself when you experience the emotion, what is it that's causing me to be in this mental unwellness? Why am I so full of anxiety? Why do I fear at the moment and I cannot breathe? Why am I procrastinating? Procrastination starts with when you fear over criticism from other people. So you were over criticized as a child when you were young, and that created a belief in you that you are not good enough, you're not performing well enough, you're not pleasing people, or you are a failure. So now people give up before they even start. And I work with students overcoming procrastination. And I found this is it, is they rather than not do it, or they wait until number 99 and give like a half a project in because I'm gonna fail anyway. And it's not going to be good enough anyway. So when I took them back and we start to work on the projects a month before the time so that they have time to adjust it and give their best at the end, then they realize, but look, what can I achieve if I apply my mind to it? And I'm not giving in to my fear. So it's, what is your emotion at the moment that's so heavy on you? Let's find the root and let's help you to change that.
Okay, so I learned that clarity comes from connections. When we slow down, pray, and listen, we think God's directions often arrive, often arrive in situations, not in none. So next question is: you work with leaders battling depression and anxiety. How can faith play a role in mental health healing, especially when people feel disconnected from God during their struggles?
Leaders is a different category because they deal with a lot of responsibility. And they have the people reporting to them, they have a business to lead, and there's a lot happening in their lives. When you're a leader, you cannot just go and talk to anyone. You and I, we can sit in a circle, drink coffee, and we can discuss we're not feeling well today. Leaders cannot do that because people will see that as a weakness. It's a different ball game because I've been there as a director of a company. So for leaders, they need to find a coach or a mentor that they can trust, that can walk the path with them, where they feel safe and where they feel the confidentiality is there and they can say safely, listen, I'm having an off day today. Can you please support me, or can you assist me, or can we find out why? And that is a whole different ball game for leaders.
Okay, so I learned that faith, not the absence of the strength to keep living even when even when the light feels distant. My next question about that. Before the world knew Dr. Madeline, there was a woman walking through loss and pain. What was the life like before your spiritual awakening, and how did you recognize that God was calling you into the new path?
My life, are you asking me what was my life about before the I am possible happened, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. I was very successful in business. I had a top 10 company. I was developing unemployed truck drivers into winning workforces. I outsourced them to transport companies and took over the staff at the companies eventually and operational management, the staff at companies. I had enough money. I lived in a beautiful home next to the sea, and I I had everything that people dream of. And when my trauma happened, I lost that. I lost my financial security. I lost everything. And over the years, in over the last 15 years, it just escalated. So I believe what's happened to me is God cleansed my life to do my work. I don't have those huge financial responsibilities, although I have some, and some are worrying me, but it's part of the journey. I don't have a home. I'm living with my son. I don't have a car. I use my son's. It's been taken from me over the last 10 years from losses to losses to losses to step into the role of teaching and healing spiritually people who are going through very hard times. So I literally walk through the fire and rise through the ashes to be here today.
All right. So my next questions having such a powerful global mission must come with both blessings and pressure. How do you stay grounded and humble while carrying the responsibility of such a calling?
It's not always easy. I have my moments because my life is also challenging. And the deeper I go into my teachings, the more challenging life becomes because you don't fit in and it's a different story. I stay grounded by connecting to my heart, to God. I had another divine intervention during COVID where the voice came into my room at 3 o'clock in the morning and said to me, drop into your heart and stay there. And I battled. It told me that 3 times before I could even do that because I'm a thinker, I'm an overthinker, I'm an analyzer, I'm an overanalyzer. I want to know everything, I want to understand everything. Don't just tell me something, I need to understand it. And in my work now, I cannot do that. I have to connect on a heart level with my clients. I need to be led and guided, and I'm just a tool in the story for God to use me to help others stepping into their greatness and purpose. And for that reason, I need to be grounded. I cannot be in my ego. I have to be humble, and I have to remind myself of the journey that I walked to get here, and it's not about prestige. You will see, Miriam, I receive quite a lot of awards. It's not about the prestige, it is about staying grounded because the anointing comes with a huge responsibility. And if I don't take that serious, these huge consequences. My life just doesn't work out then. So I've learned to accept it. In the beginning, I didn't want to accept it. I fought it, believe me. I've been fighting it since a young age. I knew very young This is my journey. But my family didn't approve it at that stage. It wasn't in my circles, it was misunderstood. So I had no support and I didn't really understand what happened to me until this story happened to me and there was no other choice. So I just stay connected to God, and the more I stay connected to God in my heart and I wait for my guidance and stay humble, the better I can help my clients.
Okay, so I have learned that humility is what keeps purpose pure when we remember that we vessels, not the source. Grace flows effortlessly through our work. So my last question about that, if you could sit down with your younger self, the woman before the pain and the purpose, what would you say to her today?
I would say to my younger self, never ever worry about what other people say and think about you. Follow the prompts that's inside of you to fulfill your purpose and to become who you're supposed to be. Don't wait until you're in pain and until you're on your knees to surrender and say, okay, now I do it. Do it when you have that seed in you and you have that calling, which I had at a very young age. I would say to her, take it, take it. I could have done this many years ago and it would have touched so many more lives. And that's just all I can say is don't doubt, stop doubting yourself. Start loving yourself and don't depend on other people's opinions.
Okay, so I learned that we all carry wisdom our younger self is needed to hear. Speaking kindness backwards in time heals us forward. So, Dr. Melling, your story shows that your stories that purpose isn't found in perfection, it's born in surrender, love, and dive thinking. Thank you so much for inspiring us to trust our own transformation. I learned that every soul journey matters, and when we walk with faith, even the hardest chapters can become someone else's source of light. Thank you so much for giving up precious time for our conservation and podcast. So our time is 3:42 p.m. and date is 12th November 2025. So goodbye, keep it up. Nice to meet you.
Miriam, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you. And I'm here if you have people who would like to do a short workshop or would like to know more. I'm very willing to have another conversation with you.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. So goodbye and take care. To meet you.